Hello Internet, I'm Sifu Mike and this is Tactical Kung Fu Mixed Martial Arts, and in this video I'm going to go over 20 exercises, specifically bodyweight exercises where the only resistance is you. Okay, so I'm going to go over 20 of these things and I want you to watch the entire video because I'm not just going to show them, I'm going to detail them and like how you do them, and I'm going to talk about the best way to go about your workout. Okay, and then I'm also going to be talking about like your diet and recovery time and all that good stuff. So make sure you watch to the end, you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell and stuff like that, all that good stuff, right? For this very long video that's going to detail 20 bodyweight exercises that you can do with nothing. You can do it at your house, you can do it anywhere. That's the beauty of these things, is that they're all about your body. And really all you need is a clock, and I'll go over all of that. Now, I will say this video kind of breaks the mold a little bit as far as some of the other videos on my channel, is because I'm going to have lots of editing, lots of cuts in it because of the nature of these different workouts, because some of them are standing up, some of them are on the ground. I had to move the camera to change angles, so there's going to be a lot of editing. Normally I just do everything in one take, right? But not the case with this thing. So, without further ado, right, we're going to let these jump cuts begin.
start up again. I've got to let it pass. I can't drink you away. You know how I've tried. And you were right beside me. You were right beside me all the while. You were right beside me all the while. Twisted thoughts roll through my head. Floodgates are open wide. The guilt sets in and it rains from my eyes. You were right beside me all the while. And you were right beside me. You were right beside me all the while. And you were right beside me. You were right beside me all the while. You were right beside me all
So this is what I call the twist, right? And so basically, you can think of these as being like a jumping rope without the jump rope. And instead of going up and down, I'm going to go side to side. This still gets the calf muscles, but also gets your core, gets the cardio as far as like going back and forth, and it's all around good stuff. So I like to do this one instead of like jumping rope. Okay, do it all the time. Great workout, easy workout. Like I said, the thing you want to do is keep the feet together, right? I have a lot of people that go kind of side to side. Keep them together. Boom, boom, boom. This keeps everything tight, right? Okay, this one is some basic squats. And the real key to this thing is actually keeping your back straight and not going down too low. Okay? You want to just have your legs be like parallel, right? And you want to shove that booty on backwards, okay? Because that's what you're working out, okay? So you don't want to be leaning forward. You want to keep everything nice and straight. Now, as far as your foot or feet are concerned, you notice I do two types of squats, here and out like this. And the reason for that is that where you place your feet kind of determine the muscles that you put stress on, and you can actually do more, or depending on body type, do better at one than the other. Rule of thumb really is that if your toes are facing forward, it's going to get the front part of your thighs. If they're facing out, it's going to get the inside part of your thighs. Right? Both can get the glutes, right? And that's what we're going for. But in every case, you want to keep your heels down. Right? That's good squat forms. Keep the heels down. A lot of people want to bring those up. That just might be because you're not flexible enough. So keep the heels down. Go down as far as you can, and regardless of where your toes are facing. Alright, so this one is a kind of a boxing drill. That's a really good exercise. I call it high knee punching. It's basically punching, shadow boxing, but you're timing your left hand extending when your left foot also extends and hits the ground. Okay, and I'm doing that with the right and the left. So it's working on the timing, which is very important in martial arts as far as hitting with everything in your feet matching your arms, and just using your entire body in matching it up. So it's a very fun workout. You can get your knees up as high as you like. I know some people who can bring their knees up past their hips, right? As long as you're timing your fist extending when your foot hits the ground like that, you can hear that I'm stomping the ground as hard as I can. That's what you want. You want that timing as far as same side technique goes. I like to start with the feet first. All right, get that going, and then add in the punches, and it becomes a little bit more natural. Lunges, I like to do a little bit of everything because it's a muscle group. Right? When I do my lunges, I go forward. I can also go to the side. I can go back, and then I go behind me in what I don't know the official name for it. It's like a skater squat, right? My leg goes behind me, and I just drop down almost like a pistol squat, but instead of having my foot in front of me, it's now behind me. And I just cycle through, and that kind of hits every different layer of not just my leg, but my glutes, and it gets both sides. In each of these cases, whether forward or backward or side or skater squats, you want to keep your back straight. So you don't want to be leaning forward or leaning off to the side. Okay, that can be very easy to do with these lunges because part of it is balance. So it's going to be utilizing your core, keeping everything tight. You really don't need your arms for this, so don't be like waving them around. If you really want to make it more interesting, you can have them like straight up. Okay, you can even look up, and that makes it a whole lot more fun. You can modify these things in so many different ways. If you come to my school, tkfmma, then you can see some of the modifications. Burpees! Everybody's favorite! It's a burpee! There are actually many different ways of doing a burpee. In this case, I'm going for the easier one where you're just throwing the feet back behind you. Okay, we're not doing push-ups because we're doing push-ups later on. I am putting the little jump in there, right? So it's just not just putting my feet back, but you can do all of them. Right? There's so many different types of burpees. This one, you're just keeping it simple, hands down, throw the feet back, come back up, little jump, and do it again. The key here is that I'm going to, again, keep my back straight, and when I throw my legs out, I'm kind of like almost flat. Right? Try not to curl them too much. And that would lead into a really good push-up, but we're not doing a push-up in that. We're just doing the burpees. Okay, now we're on the ground. So I'm doing what's called a mountain climber. Okay, I don't know of anybody who climbs a mountain like that, but apparently that's what they're called. That's what I learned them as. That's what I'm calling them. So that's what they're going to be in this video, mountain climbers. I'm pretty much just holding a plank and bringing up my legs to my chest over and over like I'm running, like I'm climbing a mountain. Right? Main things is you don't want to like lower your head. Okay? Because what that's going to do is that's going to close off your airway, make it really difficult to breathe. So I'm going to have that a little bit elevated and everything nice and straight. Okay, so don't just drop it down. Definitely try to keep, like I said, the theme of most of these workouts is keeping my core and everything straight. Whether I'm standing up or on the ground, it's straight, which is going to really work all this mess, right? So basic mountain climbers, I'll say I do this more for cardio. It's really good cardio, and if you do it in sequence, it's even more fun because I'm working the arms and the shoulders and holding myself up. So now we've got kickouts, what I call them. I kick out to one side, I kick out to the other side. I like to do a little bit of one and then a little bit of the other, and these are great. And they basically really target the glutes. And they also get the core. They kind of get a little bit of whatever you need. So you pretty much start with a plank. You keep everything tight. I'm going to turn slightly to the side and put my foot out with my toes forward. Right? A lot of people have them up or have them out, have back or whatever like that. You know, I'm going to try to have it as parallel or perpendicular to me as I possibly can. And like I said, this is a really nice, good, solid squeeze on the glutes. It works specifically like the gluteus minimus, which gives it that nice round shape. And it's one of those things that's not really targeted that much in like your squats. But this guy definitely hits it. If I marry that with a push-up and have the leg straight out and then push up, oh, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Now, leg circles are an extension and a modification of your kick out. So I kick the leg out and then I swing it back around. And so I'm just making this massive circle with my leg. It's kind of like I'm stirring a pot with my foot. Okay, and you know, I sometimes call it swimming like a frog. You know, it's just like here, but it's just one leg at a time, right? And it's extending all the way out. And once it's locked out, I go all the way behind me and pull it in. And I'm just doing that number with my leg. Pretty good workout. Again, same idea, working the same muscle group just in a slightly different fashion and getting a little bit more of the core and the back and the glutes. It's good stuff, man. I like it. This hand positioning, a lot of people call it diamond. I call it the pizza push-up. Okay, because my feet are out wide and making a V. I look like a slice of pizza, right? And the thing about push-ups is that I'm basically holding a plank and I'm keeping everything tight and I'm flexing everything. The only thing that is bending is my elbows. Everything is tight. Everything is tight. I'm going to have a separate video just on push-ups, but for right now, we got these, what I call pizza push-ups. I'm not going to have my hands like way up here or even way down here. Just kind of have them right there in the center and have my legs far apart. Now, if you have to drop to your knees, that's perfectly fine. As long as your back is straight, just taking some extra weight off of your arms. Okay. Now, I do that because that works the inside part of your chest. Now, the next one I call it the reverse pizza push-ups. Okay, because I'm going in a triangle the other way. Makes sense, right? I'm going to have my feet together, hands out wide, and this is going to work the outside of my chest as well as just more muscles. And so this is the one that a lot of people can do. This is also the same motion as like a bench press. Boom, right? So I like to work both. If this is really hard, this might be really easy. But who knows? This could be really easy. And this might be really hard. You work both because it's a muscle group. And where you place your hands determines the muscles that you put the most stress on. And so that's why we do it twice. 2 times. I got to use the fingers. So this one, I don't know if anyone else does this. This might be just my school. But I call it the grabbies. All right, I gotta have my hands out here, have them out, stretched out tight, right? Out tight, lock it out, and I'm just gonna make a tight fist, and then stretch, tight, stretch, tight, right? I'm just doing this over and over again. What this does, it works out all the muscles, tendons, ligaments, all in the forearms. It's awesome. Doesn't matter how, great you think you are. You do this for 20 seconds and you're going to feel it. It's incredible. It's pretty cool, and it works that grip strength, really getting it tight. And that's one of those big things that you want in martial arts, and in a lot of other workouts too. Just keeping all of these, every muscle as high as you can will help benefit with some of your other movements. So that's why we do those things to work that grip strength. Little leg lifts, which if you say really fast, it's like a tongue twister. Little leg lifts, right? These specifically target like the lower abs, kind of off frame, but like these guys, right? If I bring my legs up a little bit higher, then I end up using some of the other abs. I would just want to target these guys low, and I'm trying to keep my back as flat as I possibly can and lifting my legs up. I'm going to curl my toes back towards me because that makes it way more fun, right? And keeping the legs tight and just little raises, little lifts, just over and over again. And like I said, targets that lower abs, awesome. Now the next one, since we just targeted the lower, going to go for the upper abs, right? And this is just a simple little crunch, but it's really isolating these top abs, and I'm just trying to get my shoulders off the ground. Okay, I don't want to curl my head. I mentioned it earlier. If you curl your head, you're gonna close off some of your airway. It's gonna make it hard to breathe. So I'm just gonna be like a bird, just like pick in the air. Okay, but I like to have my hands up, right, and just kind of pushing straight up, pushing up the sky is what I call it, pushing up the sky, and that's just these little crunches. It doesn't seem like much, but after you do 30 of them, then it's like, oh my gosh, this really adds up, and this targets that top part of your abs. Windshield wipers, everybody's favorite, just moving my feet side to side. Okay, I try not to go all the way to the ground. If I go all the way to the ground, my legs can kind of relax, and it's like a domino effect, and makes it so much harder to get them back up. So I'm going to keep everything tight and controlled as I go side to side and try to go down as low as I possibly can. Same thing though, I'm going to have my toes curled back to me. I'm going to have everything nice and flexed, and that just makes it all the more fun. In this, you can kind of think of working more of like your upper obliques, right? This is what it's targeting, is these guys going side to side. Now, if you have a problem starting off, the more you bend your knees, the easier it is. So, because you're taking weight off of that, and it's not as extended, right? So, if you bend your knees back, still going side to side, you can still work those muscles, and then slowly extend your legs as you go back and forth. These guys are called Ukrainian twists, because we don't really like Russia right now, so I've renamed them to Ukrainian twists. We are twisting like the Ukrainians. Why it was ever called Russian twists in the first place, I don't know. Maybe some person from Russia started doing them first. I don't know. I learned them as Russian twists. But like I said, we don't like Russia right now. So these are Ukrainian twists, and I'm basically in what's, if you do yoga, have a position called the boat. Right, I'm in a boat position, like a bee. Right, with my feet off the ground, slightly bent. I'm just going from side to side. I like to really move my shoulder. I try to touch the ground with my knuckles. Right, really twist as much as I can of my back part of my oblique. So you can think of the windshield wipers getting in the front. This is kind of getting the back. At least that's where I feel it the most, is on these muscles. Right, it's the ones here, right, getting on the side. So that's why we pair the two together, is that it's getting both front and back, just getting the whole kit and caboodle, as they say. Okay, this next one, I gave it a really Chinese name. It might have an actual name, but I call it the flower wilts in the sun. Okay, because you start off as a flower with all your arms and limbs pointing straight up. Sun comes out, and you're like, "Oh, I'm wilting, I'm wilting," and you go into kind of a 6'6" starfish, if people who have gone to my school know what that is, where you're completely flat, but all your limbs are just barely off the ground, and you're just holding it. And then you kind of come back because the sun has gone away, and then the sun comes back, and you just wilt, and then you come back, and you just do this over and over, and it's a massive contraction on your abs. But it also can work some of your other muscles depending on, like, if you keep them tight, if you have the toes curled back. This can also get your hip flexors. It's really good there. The thing you want to focus on is actually trying to keep this so tight that you're pressing your back into the ground. And that can be really difficult for some, especially if they haven't worked out their back muscles, which is what we come to next. Okay, so this is one of many different type of back exercises, working those back abs, right, using the gym terminology for anatomy. You know, you have your biceps and your triceps and your triceps and your back abs and your front abs, all those kind of things, right? Working back abs. What this is I'm trying to get my elbows and my thighs off the ground. It's almost like I'm trying to bring my elbows to my hip, really bringing that up, arching the back, head straight up. I'm trying to bring the back of my head to the bottom part of my feet and just trying to connect this. So I'm really just condensing and squeezing. And then when I extend, I stretch it all out, right? And then I come back, but I'm still like balancing basically on my core, right? I don't want to bring my thighs or my knees or my elbows to the ground, just very, very far off to that, and then about, so it's almost like basically the reverse of what we just did in the flower wilts in the sun. Okay, so the skydiver extensions, really tight squeeze on the back muscles, and then stretch it out and squeeze it back in. So as far as doing this particular workout is concerned, there's several different ways to go about it, and really the main thing is your mindset. It's a mental deal. And that's going to be the case with any physical thing, whether it be sport, whether it be self-defense, anything physically, it's all going to be up here. Okay? And so you got to look at it differently when you go about doing this. When I do these things, I start off just going for a set amount of time. Right? It didn't matter how many reps that I got in that set amount of time. If it was 30 seconds, all right, and in that 30 seconds I was able to get maybe 10 reps or maybe I can get 30. It didn't really matter because I was still active for that 30 seconds. So that was a win. In my head, I achieved my goal, and that's the biggest thing. Like trainers all around will talk about goal setting and how important it is. It is very important. Mentally, if I set an easily achievable goal, doesn't matter where I'm at fitness-wise, I'm still going to be able to get that. I can do that every single day, just being active for a set amount of time. So I do a lot of things for a set amount of time. I don't do reps. Now, reps are very important if you're doing like weightlifting and working with massive heavy resistance. Okay, having a certain amount of reps is very, very much a thing. All right, they're not wrong. You just have to understand the context in which some of these things are working within. They're trying to like really build as much muscle mass as they can in a very short amount of time, because like, hey, maybe it's for a sport and it's the off season. You only got like 3 months until the actual season starts, so that time you gotta build as much as you can. All right, so that they're not wrong. They're just maybe operating in a slightly different context. I'm working in the body weight exercise. Okay, this is a long-term deal, specifically focusing on people like me. I'm kind of old, right? And we're doing this for either a set amount of time or till failure. That's what I'm doing now. So I'm going until like stuff just stops, right? And it's awesome because that can happen at either 10 or 100 reps. It doesn't matter. I've still gone until I stopped. So in my brain, I'm like, yes, I won. I've done what I set off to do. I just was going to do my absolute max every single time because it's body weight exercise, right? Easily achievable goal that I can do every single time. Either go for a set amount of time or go to failure, or do both. There's no reason why you can't like for half of them do like a set amount of time and the other half go to failure. Now I will say this, I do count my reps, all right? And I do it for two reasons. One, I just kind of want to see what my progress. I want to see where where failure happens, and or how many I can get within the set amount of time. Because I'm like, that's cool. Let me see where it's at. The other reason is that if I'm doing something split, divided, if I'm doing like the right and then left, then I'm going to start with my weaker side, and I'm going to count those reps and have that set the standard for what my other side will do. And this is a way to even me out. All right? When I first started, the right side very much sucked. Like I could do 10 with the right side. I could do literally like 50 with the left. And so it took me a while to even those things out. And it was very much like, if this is going to set the pace, is the right side. And some people, that might be the left side. So if you're doing something from left to right, where it's always one side and then the other, then count the reps. That way you can match that on the other side, and you can be even more in the long run. That's what we're going for, long term. Okay, so easily achievable goals of either a set amount of time or just going to failure. And if you go to failure, you don't even need like a stopwatch. All right, I use a timer. It's called Seconds. It's an app on your phone you can get. It's a really good timer. I'm actually not being sponsored by them. I just like them. I'm letting you guys know. You can go to the App Store, and the app is called Seconds. Little orange-red icon. It changes from time to time, but lots of variations in there, and it's free unless you want to save your times, and then you pay like $5, and then it's like good to go. And most apps I know like will update stuff and make things worse. This has not updated since I got it, I don't know, 5 years ago, and it's been great. So just that's my $5. Bam, get a little app timer. It's got so many different variations in there, either pre-made stuff or customized stuff, and that's what I can work out to, either counting up or counting down. Pretty cool, man. So that's my timer. That's my plug for a thing that's not even sponsoring me. It's a good app. Use it all the time. Right on, guys. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about stretching, because that is a very important and key aspect to being able to work out correctly. So the thing about stretching is that if you stretch cold, if you do like deep, big stretches, getting muscles when you're cold, it's like stretching cold rubber band. Not going to really work. You're not going to get any gains out of it. And this is very much more for the long-term kind of deal. So what I tend to do is start with a joint check, which when you think about it, the stuff that gets injured when you don't stretch is the tendons and ligaments. It's the little muscles around the big muscles. So when I do a joint check, that's what I'm stretching out. That's kind of what I'm loosening up. is that I'm moving everything around to make sure that's all good before I start doing the big warm-up. Okay, you can kind of think muscle density is the opposite of muscle flexibility. I mean, you've seen those big jocks who like they're muscle bound and they look great, but they can't like lean over and tie their shoes, you know? It's because their muscles are in the way, and the thing that gets the flexibility, what you want is the tendons and ligaments and stuff that elongates, right? And so the difference here is going to be your density versus your flexibility, which is why a lot of women have a tendency to be more flexible, like even without stretching, than most guys, because they don't have as much testosterone in their body. Testosterone literally helps build muscle and this big dense muscle mass. So it kind of makes sense biomechanically that if you have less testosterone, you're going to have less denser muscles. And I'm not saying they're not as strong. It's just a different type of muscle mass, right? And the thing is, when guys get much older, right, when they get like 35 and start going a little bit older, their body stops producing that same level of testosterone hormones and stuff that they had prior to that, and so their muscles don't get as dense, which means they get more flexible over time. Right? Now, the reverse is for women because they stop producing as much estrogen, right? And then they can just get like jacked, man. I've seen some like 70, 80-year-old power lifter females that are just like insane, and I would never want to be like messing with them at all. And it's just like at that point, if you're like a 75-year-old power lifter and like deadlifting a Volkswagen with your grandkids in the Volkswagen, then it's like you don't need to be flexible. Just putting that out there, man. Oh, that's just really cool. But like I said, your muscles, the denser they are, the more they can kind of hinder and get in the way of actual flexibility. So when I do my warm-up and workouts, I save the deep stretching for after that, for after I've broken down all the big muscles and they're no longer in the way. They can't get in the way because they're like exhausted and they're like all, like I said, broken down. That's the whole idea behind like lifting and exercise. You're breaking down the tendons, or not tendons, but the fibers in the muscles, right? Once I do that, they can relax a little bit easier and I can get more of a stretch out of them. So it's a long run. Okay, I do my deep stretching afterwards, and that's going to benefit me the next time I work out. Okay, so we do the joint check first, and then workout warm up kind of deal, and then deep stretching. Okay, that's kind of the best order for the long run type deal. I'm all about that, man. So working on the long term. So that is your order. Remember, muscle density, opposite of muscle flexibility, kind of basically, that's the easy way to think about it. So we start with the joint check, right? I'm moving my head. I go from side to side. I go ear to shoulder, up and down, rotating around. I just want to like loosen up all these tendons and ligaments in and around my neck before I actually start doing any kind of major exercise. I like to start with the joint check before I do any kind of like big exercise. Here I'm just rotating my shoulders, basically. I like to have these big arm swings when I do these things, and I can alternate, I can go backwards, okay, and again I can alternate it backwards, but it's like working these shoulders, getting that shoulder rotation, making sure it's still going. So now I just bring my arms across my body again. Another way of moving these shoulders. Every single time I do this, it's like snap, crackle, pop. I hear my shoulder popping. It likes to do that. And that's just me. And so, like I said, it's a pre-stretch to the warm-up or workout kind of deal, and making sure that all of this is still moving. Now, when I do my torso twist, when I turn, I want to pivot and bring that back heel off the ground. And that's going to be kind of important, especially when you get older, because that takes stress off of your knees. It also allows you to turn way more than if you just had it stationary, right? So I'm going to be pivoting. I'm going to bring that back heel off the ground. This also happens to be the same motion as like I'm throwing a hook or an elbow or I'm punching, right? I want to bring that foot off the ground, or not off the ground. I want to get the heel off the ground. You can't see my heel. I'm just talking. But that's what we're doing when we do these torso twists, coming all the way around. That's what I call them, torso twists. Now we're just rotating the hips like SpongeBob going around town. That reference that's made by everybody who does my class the first time they see that. They're like, oh, SpongeBob, that's where you got it. It's not where I got it, but that's where it's at. So that's where most people know it. So we're just rotating the hips in both directions, making sure it's good to go. It's almost like you got a hula hoop, but I can't really hula hoop. So I do this instead, just pretend. All right. Now I'm rotating my knees. Same concept as rotating my hips, just making sure they're all good to go. Just kind of circles, little small circles, right? Not doing anything big, because I like my knees, right? So I'm just going back and forth in a circle, going both directions, and then I go up and down. Again, making sure everything is working properly and bending before I really use it. So this last one is just rotating the foot. And I bring my knee up and I rotate it around in a circle. This does require a little bit of balance. You can have a slight bend in your supporting leg, which will actually kind of make it easier in the long run once your muscles kind of get more developed with it, but you are enacting those stabilizer muscles. I'm going to use the right words. Might be a little bit tired, but yeah. So I'm going to be rotating the foot, making sure it works. Go to the other side, rotating the foot, making sure everything is all good to go. Stretching is so important. Alright, so this first stretch, I start off with my feet shoulder width apart or more, and then I just lean to one side and keep going down. The key thing you want to do is keep your feet kind of flat on the ground as best you can, and only bend one knee. Now, what I like to do, if you notice, my hands are close to my knees. My hands are actually supporting all the weight of my body for the most part. That way that my legs can relax. That is going to be the key thing to all your stretching, is you got to relax, right? And so I have my hands here. They're doing all the work for me. They're holding me up. My legs are relaxing so that they can get more of the stretch. And I do this on both sides. Now, this stretch is similar to one before, and it's actually for a set technique that I have that you find in a lot of different things. So it's actually pretty important. It's just getting the leg muscles in a slightly different way that is very beneficial to some of the techniques that I train. But you want to keep your support, well, your knee that is up, you want to keep that foot flat best you can. That's how you get the stretch. The other one is straight out, and you want to have the toes curled up. I'm going to be more in frame when I do this. So you want to have the toes up, you want to have it locked down, and have that foot flat on the ground. That's the hard part. That's the stretch of it all. And so I tend to start on my butt, extend my leg, plant my foot, and then hand behind me and push myself off the ground to try to get that stretch. And you're going to feel it in one of the two legs wherever you really need it the most. It's a good stretch. This is a basic butterfly stretch. Just put my feet together, pull them in. I'm going to lean forward, relax my legs, stretch them the groin. Now I have my feet out. I try to have them out as far as I can, and I'm also leaning forward, bending at the waist. That's kind of the theme here. I'm still relaxing. I'm going to have my toes up. That's a big deal. It's gonna, if you have them out here, it's going to change the angle, right? I have them toes up, and that's going to be a little bit more difficult, which allows me to get more of a stretch. That's what I want. I want a nice, good stretch. I'm just leaning forward, and if you can get your arms to the ground like I can, it's a perfectly okay. That took me 16 years to get my forearms to the ground, and that's kind of where I stopped. But you can either go forward or have your legs go out even wider. It depends on the body type. Now I have my legs together, and this is like the classic stretch people do standing up. I like to be on the ground, and I have my toes curled back to where I'm grabbing my feet, and really it's just a matter of bending at the waist to get that stretch. It's not just the legs, but it's the ability to bend at the waist and grabbing your toes and grabbing your feet. That's kind of a result of being able to do this and really getting like the hamstrings. But again, I'm bending at the waist, leaning forward, and relaxing to grab those toes. This is an alternate version of that where instead of using both legs, I'm using just one. And typically, if you are really struggling with getting both, then if you get one, that's good. If you come across, that gets more of a stretch. If I turn, it's going to get more of my back. Right? Move my head, it's going to get more, and kind of smell my armpit, and it becomes more of a multi-stretch, man. It gets so many different muscles with it. It's great, but there's different stages as far as where you're at. You know, I can do the same side, and then I can go across. Again, it gets me turned. I can really lean into it and lean over, come here, and get more to the side, and do that on both sides. Good stuff. But like I said, multi-stretch. I'm getting multiple muscles, one stretch. Very efficient. I like it. Quad stretch. A lot of people do this standing up, and that is perfectly fine. Okay, I like to do this on the ground. Takes away the balance aspect of it all. Allows me to get more of a stretch. Like I said, you're going to be relaxing into these things. Now, I'm not pulling my leg behind me so much as I'm holding in place and really arching my back, and I'm trying to push my hips and my belly button forward as much as I can, and that's going to get a nice stretch on my thigh. But it's also like I can feel it in my abs too if I've just worked out my abs. It's a really good stretch, but like I said, I tend to be on the ground just to take that extra variable out of the equation and just focus on isolating just that leg, pulling it back, and I get it on both sides. So this particular stretch is what I refer to as the weird pretzel stretch. Okay, I found out later on it's actually called like the reverse pigeon. So if you go to like the rest of the YouTube side, after you finish watching my video, you can look up what an actual pigeon toe stretch is. And this stretch is, I believe, more for the people who are not as flexible, because pigeon toe is kind of hard. But this is good when you're going to have the ankle on top of the knee. You're going to reach through your legs and just pull the back of your knee to your chest, and that's going to stretch your IT band, a couple other good stuff, and your glutes. And the reason why I call it a weird pretzel stretch is because I have my kids do it in my kids class, and I don't want to tell them what a glute is because, you know, they're like, hey, what's a glute? I'm like, well, it's a butt. It's your butt, and it will be forever known as the butt stretch. So to prevent that mnemonic, I'm going to call it the weird pretzel stretch because you're like, weird, and in a pretzel, and stuff like that. And the kids, they like it. But really, you know, it's a butt stretch. Stretching your butt. It's really good for you. But it's like, again, I renamed it that way to prevent the giggle because, you know, I'm not going to tell my kids to not have fun in my class. I want them to enjoy what they're doing. But once that giggle stops, man, it doesn't stop. It's just... it keeps going and going and going, and so I'm like, let's literally nip this in the butt before that happens and call it the weird pretzel stretch. Alright, the last one that I really like, a lot of people really like it, is called the old man stretch. I learned it as the old man stretch. It can go by several different names. Some places call it the geriatric stretch. Some people we'll call it the life alert stretch, or the get off my lawn stretch, or I've fallen and I can't get up stretch. All these kind of stretches, either which way, they're all the same. Body's all doing the same thing. You're going to bring your leg over, keep the shoulders to the ground. This is going to get kind of the muscles in your back and your spine. Really cool. You can also like go to sleep and take a nap in that stretch. people have tried to do that after, because like this is the thing that I end most of my workouts with, is like, hey, we're gonna do this awesome stretch. And I think one of the main reasons why it's called the old man stretch is like 9 times out of 10, whenever someone goes into it, they're like, oh man, right? So just bringing the leg over, and the thing is like where you place your hand, as far as when you bring your leg over, it will determine the muscles and the stress that you put on in your back. And so like I like to have like this. I think some places call it a cactus position, right? And you can also bring your leg even higher up as you bring it over. So you're bringing it closer towards your head, and that will also change the dynamics of what is being focused on and what's being stretched. None of it is bad. Right? You're still getting your spine and stuff. So it's pretty good. Old man stretch. Get off my long stretch. Alright, so let me talk a little bit about consistency, because that is really the most important aspect, in my opinion, to working out, is that being able to do it all the time and just keep going. Once you're like a train, you just keep going, right? You just got to get started. Consistency is huge, and there have been plenty of things, like I can't list all the things where it's like if you do anything for like every day for 30 days, you're going to get results. Whether negative or positive, you're going to get results if you do it every single day for 30 days, right? Or more. And so these trends, these fitness trends of like, oh, do this exercise, you'll get this gains, you'll lose these weights or whatever like that. They're not wrong. It's just you can get that with anything for the most part. You know, if I eat nothing but this, of course I'm going to lose weight, because that's all I'm doing is that. Or if I'm going from being inactive to all of a sudden active, yeah, of course I'm going to get some results after 30 days of doing it every single day. Okay, but that's the thing, is consistency. I have to do it all the time. And I don't have to do it every single day. If I'm working out different muscle groups, like say I work out my upper body one day, I can work out my lower body the next day. That's fine, right? Or you can work out your entire body and then wait a day and do it again, right? Consistency. And your body is going to basically whine and complain the entire time, especially if it hasn't ever worked out before. It's going to be sore, and soreness is just your body's way of complaining. For the most part, you can mind over matter that mess and just keep going, right? There's two different kinds of pain. There's the pain of like, oh, it's about to break or it's broken and it can't work anymore. You will know that most of the time that's very quick, that's very sharp. And then there's like that dull kind of like, it's whining. It's like your body's all of a sudden become a teenager when you start doing like push-ups. You know, it just doesn't want to do any of that stuff. You can think of your body as being inherently lazy, right? And it kind of makes sense in that it's made up of mostly water. When water gets cold, the molecules kind of stop moving and they seize up, right? And so we know that from like moving, rushing water in a river, that's going to be better than like stationary lakes and ponds, because like stuff can't grow in it if it's moving, right? So bad things grow when it's not moving. Your body wants to stop, wants to become that puddle of nothing, right? And not move. But that's when the bad stuff starts going. So we got to keep moving along, keep moving, keep it going, regardless of how it feels, or what it likes, and as far as complaining. And the thing is that when you do this consistently, when you do work out, afterwards you feel better, right? Most of the time, like you're releasing really solid chemicals, really good positive stuff in your brain. 9 times out of 10, if I don't feel like I want to work out, if I'm feeling bad, I'll work out anyway. It'll suck when I'm doing it. Trust me, it really does. But afterwards, I'm like, dude, I feel great. If I'm having a hard time sleeping, man, I'm going to bang out some push-ups or whatever like that. I'm going to be so exhausted I can't help but sleep, right? So It's almost like taking that necessary cough medicine that tastes terrible to get rid of the cough. Right? You got to do it, but you got to be, like I said, consistent about it, because falling off the horse is easy. Your body's like, oh, we're done, awesome. I'm not going back to this thing anymore. The moment you stop trying to get better is the moment you start getting worse. Okay, so you want to keep the ball rolling, keep it going, even if it's just, if you slow down, that's fine. You didn't cold turkey stop. All right, so don't stop. You want to keep going, even if your body is whining and complaining about it. The next time you do it, eventually it'll get over that. Like, okay, this is the new normal. I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to keep doing this thing, and I'm going to figure out how to do it more efficiently so I don't have to work as hard because I'm inherently lazy. I mean, it kind of makes sense to me. That's how muscles works. It's like, I'm working out, I'm doing these reps, and my body adjusts so it's easier, so I don't have to work as hard to do the same motion, right? And so you add more plates so you make it hard again, right? And your body is all like, I'm just going to keep adjusting myself so I don't have to work as much because I'm lazy. I don't want to work as much. It makes sense. And if you stop, then it's like, oh, awesome, we're going to go eat donuts or something like that, right? So you want to be consistent with your workout regardless of what it is. Keep going. I mean, well, I'll say this, as long as it's something positive. Don't keep doing something bad. As long as it's a positive workout. We're talking about, this is context working out. Shouldn't have to say that, but anyways, be consistent. That's the thing. Another key aspect to your working out is your recovery time. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily the time in between your different sets and different exercises, because if you're working multiple muscle groups and different parts of your body, you can rest one as you work out the other. It's, everything's part of the system, yes, but if I'm working out my arms, right, I can let those take a break. I can do some squats and work out my legs, so I can always, not take huge breaks in between. Then it becomes more of a cardio exercise because I'm doing nothing but body weight. This is all about body weight exercise. But talking about the recovery of when you're done with your workout, what you do afterwards is going to maximize an actual workout. So the first thing is your rest period, right? Resting as in sleep. You need that. It's big. It's very important. That's when your body takes its time to heal itself. Okay? And it's not just with working out with muscles. Like when people are sick, the number one thing they do is rest. They sleep it off, right? It makes sense. That's really how your body heals itself. And when you work out, you think, I'm breaking down the fibers in my muscles, right? So I need to take the time to sleep to let them heal and get stronger. That's what happens. So your sleep is very, very important. And the thing is, the more you work out, the easier it's going to be to fall asleep because you'll be too exhausted to do anything else, right? Now, as far as sleeping is concerned, because I know it can be difficult for certain people, there are a few tricks that I have learned over the years that actually can help falling asleep better. One is a weighted blanket. If, get one of those. You can go to Amazon and find them, and you can get them of all different kinds of weights, and that really can help keep you in place. And some people find it more comfortable and they can fall asleep faster. So there's that you can do as far as getting a weighted blanket. There's also a product on the market, I believe it's called Chili Sleep. Okay, it's actually lowering your body's core temperature as you sleep, because when they found that for most people, this may not be for everybody, but for most people, if their body is cold when they sleep or when they try to sleep, it's almost like they go into a hibernation period, and so they fall asleep a lot quicker and they have a deeper sleep. They go into a REM sleep faster, and it's better for their body as far as recovery time is concerned, because they have a much higher quality of sleep when their body is cold. And so the product, like I said, I think it's called Chili Sleep. It's basically like a mattress pad that has water in it, and there's a pump and a thing off to the side of the bed, and you put it on there, and then you put your sheet over there, and you can actually set the temperature. And what it does is it runs water underneath it and will cool you down. So if you mix that with the weighted blanket, blanket holds you down, and then chili soup on the bottom cools you off, right? Another easy way to go about it, the way that I do, is I simply just don't have a whole lot of blankets on my bed. Sleep cold. And it's really beneficial in the winter, because then it's like, oh, I just don't turn the heat up that much at night, and I go right to sleep, man. And that's going to be a big thing, is that recovery time, is that rest, sleep. Huge, very important. So lots of workout, good night's sleep, that's going to help you out very much in the long run to heal the muscles. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is diet, is as far as like what you're eating, right? Now, I'm not going to be telling you what to eat. I'm going to tell you more what not to eat, okay? Because I'll be honest, man, I don't eat the most healthiest, but I'm very active. And so that's the thing. If you're very active, you can kind of counterbalance that eating properly deal. I'm sure if I ate properly, I'd be a whole lot more chiseled and stuff like that, but I don't have that time. That's the thing, is that sometimes eating properly requires either time or money, and I don't really have either at this point. So, but I don't eat bad. And the thing is, you want to eat because you're putting in the calories that you just burned off. Especially if you're doing more body weight exercise. Again, this is the context of body weight, is that it's kind of a cardio stuff. If I'm using my whole body and I'm doing it, if I'm breathing correctly, I'm using everything I've got. So I've got to replenish what I've just burned off. And that's going to be very important if I'm getting a good night's sleep and healing. You have to have those calories for your body to utilize to then, heal the muscles, right? So what you eat is very important. The biggest thing is eat, okay? You don't have to eat junk. Like I said, I'm going to tell you what not to eat. Like sodas, just get rid of those things, man. Not like cold turkey stop it, because life is short, but I'm talking like I have maybe 10 ounces of soda every other day kind of deal, because I like it, okay? But, don't cold turkey stop it. Because, like, if you've gone from eating whatever you like to, like, cold turkey stopping, say, sugar, after, like, a month, you're pretty much ready to commit murder for a Skittle, right? So, life is short. Take it in moderation. Just don't overeat. Cut back on portions. Maybe eat every couple hours just a little bit. Like, I'm snacking. I'm grazing. Some people, with their body type, maybe they only eat 2 meals a day, okay? It all varies. The key thing, though, is that if you do work out a whole lot, you gotta have that food. You gotta have fuel. Yeah, that's what I think of it as fuel. Even if you're not hungry, you need to have something in you for your body to utilize to help fuel the muscles so that you can do this again. So what you eat is very important as far as replenishing the calories that you've just burned. Now, as I said before, if you're super active, you don't really need to have the best diet. I don't have the best diet, but some diet is better than no diet, right? I'm just not eating garbage all the time. Every once in a while, you're like, hey, I like this candy bar. Life is short. So you don't want to, like, completely swear off the stuff that you enjoy, because some people get a lot of pleasure from eating, but you don't want to overeat. Like, I'm not going to eat, like, 17 candy bars unless they're that little fun size, and there's nothing fun about that. If I can eat it with one bite, there's nothing fun about that. Okay? I want to enjoy my candy bar. Several bites. Anyways. But yeah, I don't want to have, like, stay away from processed sugar. You don't need that. Anything like vegetables are good. And the thing is that some people swear off like being a vegetarian or whatever. When you really think about it, a lot of people kind of are anyways. I mean, I eat meat once. Everything else, I don't have meat in it. when I really started thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I really only eat one time during the day, if that. And so, not a big deal. It's just some people are like weird about labels, but you definitely, if you work out a lot, you gotta eat, you gotta replenish those calories that you burn. The thing you do not ever, ever, ever want to do is diet and exercise at the same time. And this is specifically for people who have never done any of those. If you go from not being active and not dieting to trying to do both at the same time, not going to work. It's going to be two shocks to your body. And I literally spent, in the 12 years that I'm teaching, never seen it. I think I've never even seen it prior to that. Nobody that I know has ever done cold turkey, not having done any kind of activity of working out or dieting and wanting to do them at the same time. Has never worked. Okay, I recommend getting the exercise first. Get your body used to using the calories you have in the nutrients and everything in your body already, and get it used to burning that stuff. And then when you kind of plateau, because a lot of guys will talk about, like, I've reached a plateau in this lift or whatever like that. That's when you can diet, right? That's when you can start stuff. But before that, it's kind of like, oh, you're asking your body essentially to do more with less, and your body's like, oh no, 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 not doing this mess. Not going to starve and do more exercise when you haven't done it before. Never works, right? Another reason why I like doing the exercise first and then the food stuff is that when you work out, it releases a lot of positive chemicals in your brain, in your body. And so you want to start off with something that ends with on a positive note, whereas like eating, it's just that's a chore sometimes. That can be the hardest thing. It can take the most discipline, is getting the right foods and stuff like that, and not eating ice cream all the time, because that's some tasty stuff. Ice cream and donuts, yeah. So get the exercise first. That's going to be easier to achieve than the diet. Now, if you're like a diabetic or something, yeah, you need to cut that out now. So if there's a medical reason for you to cut something out, do so already. I'm just saying, in the context of working out here in this video, you get the most out of it. Start with the workout first, add the diet later when it becomes more necessary, when you have the time for it, kind of deal. But don't do them at the same time. That's not going to work. Not going to work. Your body is not going to be able to function with no fuel, and especially if it's not used to using what it already has. Right? You get that going, your body's like, oh, I'm going to start pulling from here, because maybe we need more of this, what they already have stored up, okay, because we didn't give enough fuel to begin with, right? And then later on, it's like, oh, I'm going to give it a different type of fuel, because it's used to that. It's used to processing everything that goes into it. So, like I said, not at the same time, no. Workout first, diet second, pretty good. I like that. Seen it work a lot of times. That's what I recommend. But as far as like what not to eat, just cut out soda, man. Processed sugar, just not good for you. Just that's an easy one to do. You can have a little bit every now and then, everything in moderation, but cut that out. Don't if you're over 21, don't binge drink. Like, beer can be very bad for you. I'm Irish. I like a good beer, but like I said, all in moderation. Okay, remember, we're working out. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk to you guys about as far as this workout is concerned is that you can totally do it. I just want to give you the motivation and encourage you to try this out and do this. Just because you haven't seen yourself do it doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means you haven't seen yourself do it. Just because you haven't seen somebody else do it doesn't mean it's impossible. You can do anything anybody can, as long as you try hard enough, and as long as what you're doing doesn't depend on somebody else, because then it's kind of like being stuck in traffic. You can only go as fast as the car in front of you. But this is all body weight, okay? just you, right? So you can totally do this, and I know this for a fact because I can do this, right? Let me give you a little bit of a lowdown on me, because I'm not super athletic. I'm just like super stubborn. Again, it's mental, right? So I'm a cancer survivor, and my cancer caused a neuromuscular disorder, so where my right side doesn't work as well as my left side. My brain doesn't really talk to them as well. Um, I'm 140 pounds. When I first started, I was less than that, um, and I'm a very small person. So I have that going against me. You know, I've also got a slight tear in my rotator cuff and in my rhomboid. My right knee sucks. Pretty much my entire right side doesn't work very well anymore, thanks primarily to cancer. My knees don't work. In fact, really, I often tell people this is the school of broken people, because a lot of people have something that doesn't work, and they still come here because we still find a way to do it. There's several different ways of doing the same thing, and that's one of the things to try to get across to people, is that they can keep going. You might slow down, you can keep going. And I think there was like even a class where it's like me and four other guys, and I think there was like 3 good knees between us. It's like all total, right? We all have something, and so just because you have something doesn't mean you can't do this. It doesn't mean there's something. You can always modify it based on what you can and cannot do. Okay, and like I said, just because you've never seen yourself do it doesn't mean it's impossible. Okay? Often the first person to tell you that you can't do something is you. Okay? And the second person is physics. But for the most part, you're always going to be the most negative person. You're always going to have to work against yourself and be like, and not listen to your body that's inherently lazy and wants to, like, I don't want to do this. And you're like, no, we're going to do this, okay, because it's good for you. And from a self-defense standpoint, that's the thing. In my school, I teach practical self-defense, and you're more likely to be taken out by negative health benefits, or like from not being healthy, than you are from crime. And so having people work out, that's like my main thing, is to try to get them healthy, because any martial art technique you do well enough and long enough, it's a workout. Okay, so it's kind of a win-win, because you're like fighting against, being unhealthy, and you're also learning how to hit somebody in the face. That never gets old. Okay, going to a gym, running on a treadmill, lifting weights, man, that can get boring. But punching and kicking, yeah, that never gets old, man. And so we have that mixed in, and that's something that you can do. That's something I want you guys to do, and I'm telling you, you can totally do this. All right, like for instance, this whole video, I've made this thing after I taught like 4 hours. I've taught 4 classes, private lesson, and did all that, and I've been doing at least 3 classes each week, each day, every single week, since 2016. All right, I'm not anything special. I'm just dedicated, and I'm doing this correctly in that it's all bodyweight stuff. It's all either based for a set amount of time, or it's going to failure. So you can totally do this. There's no reason why you can't. And if you think that, like, you could do better than me, then you probably can't, right? I'm telling you, man, I've got so much not going for me that, like, every little thing that I do is awesome to me, because I'm kind of like, there was a time where I couldn't even do anything, right? And I know I'm not alone. I know you might be one of these people that, like, you had some kind of medical thing happen to you, and you're just kind of stuck. And I'm saying, dude, just get off the couch, do something. You can do stuff in this video, or you can go for a walk. Just be consistent about it. You can totally do it. All up to you, man. And the thing to keep in mind is that you're never really going to be criticized by anybody who is doing more than you. Okay? That includes you, right? So, if you're critical of yourself, that's only because you're not actually doing it. Once you start doing stuff, you're just kind of like, yeah, I'm so much better than the past me who wasn't doing anything, right? Because something is better than nothing. If walking down the street is something you've never done before, that is a win. Okay? You've gotten off the couch, you walk down the street. If you can do 1,000 push-ups in 24 minutes, like I do all the time, that's all a win. But it takes a while to get up to that point. You just have to be consistent, and you can totally do it. Okay. Now, the thing is, like I said, I'm not a massive athlete that you see on television, movies like that. I'm just your average guy who is incredibly dedicated to what I'm doing, because that's a massive part of martial arts as well, right? The thing that takes the single most discipline and dedication is the fitness, which ironically is the one thing that has been dropped from most martial arts schools, to the point where the entire fitness industry evolved and erupted and is like 20% bigger than the martial arts industry. Because prior to the fitness industry, people were using martial arts for fitness. Made sense, because it's like, hey, I'm not only learning how to defend myself physically from other people trying to assault me, but I'm also learning how to stay in shape. Right? That's the basics of like Chinese martial arts. It's that yin and yang, working the internal and external kind of deal. Is that I feel like most of the fitness industry, the modern day fitness industry, is reinventing the wheel. Because like I see stuff and I'm like, oh, I do that too. I just kick people. And so it's all been there. They figured this out thousands of years ago. Okay, it's here. You just gotta take part of it. You gotta do it, and you totally can. I know you can, right? And you just have to not necessarily listen to your body's whining and complaining. And again, I can't preface this enough that this is, everybody's different, okay? And it's perfectly fine. There are different ways of doing the same thing, all based on your body type, all based on the context too, right? I mentioned before, if I have sporting events coming up and I'm in the off season, I'm going to be working on a certain way to gain as much muscle as I can for that season, right? This context is bodyweight exercises for the long run, for people who want to be healthy in the long run. People like me, I'm old, okay? So I don't have much to go for. I don't want to be spending a whole lot of time lifting weights. I want a very short workout that I can do in like 24 minutes. It's only one thing. It's just doing a crap ton of push-ups every other day, but it works out a lot of stuff. And so, I'm making this video for people to give them another avenue to work out, because that's so massively important. It is to be healthy, okay? And I don't have any kind of skin in this game as far as like making money off this. I'm not a medical professional, and I'm in no way, shape, or form part of an industry that makes $4 trillion off of the pain and suffering of other people. And it's also the #1 cause of bankruptcy in the U.S., right? They're not wrong, but they're also not going to tell you everything you need to know to live a healthy enough lifestyle to not pay them all the time. Okay, so it's a different context. This channel, as of today, the 17th of December 2022, I'm not monetized, so I'm not making any money off this video. Okay, and if you see this video and you like this and you like my school, Tactical Kung Fu Mixed Martial Arts, located in Durham, North Carolina, and you come here, yeah, that's marketing, right? But I'm not making this for that. Like I said, not monetized, not sponsored. Okay, got no money coming out of this. If anything, I'm doing a kind of like a martial arts faux pas here, in that I'm telling you some of the stuff and detailing how I go about some of the fitness in my class. Like all the stuff that I'm teaching you or showing in this video is stuff that I do in my class. Now I'm modifying and have several different ways of doing the same stuff but for the most part, it's there. And I've just told all of you, I've told my competition how to pretty much arrange a whole aspect of class and given the explanations of the different workouts. Technically, the business mindset, it's like, oh, we don't do this. We got to keep it all to ourselves. We got to profit off that. We got to, abuse the ignorance of others and make money. I'm like, nah. I see money as a result, man. I just want you guys to be healthy, right? I want you guys to get as much as you can out of some of the content that I have, okay? Because it's written on the website. Better living through martial arts is what I do. I do lots of martial arts, and I make silly videos like this for your benefit, okay? Because you guys are awesome. All right. Again, I'm Silver Mike. This is Tactical Kung Fu Mixed Martial Arts, TKF MMA. Find me on YouTube, of course. That's what this is. Also, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, a bunch of social medias. You can find me on Google, tkfmma.com. My website. Learn all about me in this place. Okay, all TKF MMA. So if you haven't done so already, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, which I think is over there or somewhere. Finger gun. Bam, 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 bam. And again, I'm Silver Mike. Hope you guys have a good day. Hope you learn something. And yeah, man, take it easy. Be good to each other.